Babies Company is suing an online smoke shop alleging a hemp collaboration produced illegal cannabis products. The brand ignored a cease and desist, prompting claims the deal damaged the rapper's reputation. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Recall 67A mobile appointments are now available in your area. We come to you quick, easy, and under an hour. Complete the recall to get $500 plus a warranty worth thousands. Schedule today at CumminsRecall.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
It's a must-win game for the Clippers tonight at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. They need to beat Golden State in a play-in round game. Otherwise, their season is over. Both teams have to win 2 games to earn the 8th and final seed in the Western Conference playoffs. The winner tonight plays at Phoenix Friday night. Hip-hop star J. Cole gave up his roster spot on a pro basketball team in China after 1 game. The 2-time Grammy winner had signed a contract to play at least 3 games with the Nanjing Kings in the Chinese Basketball Association. Cole, who played high school ball in North Carolina, had to leave the team because he could not get an extension on his visa to play all 3 games. The first HBCU football game in the Bahamas is scheduled for November 7th this year. Morehouse and Kentucky State will meet up in the premiere of the HBCU Bahamas Classic in Nassau. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
When the story gets twisted, who's going to tell the truth? When they cut the microphones, who's still talking? When history gets rewritten, who remembers what really happened? We do. KBLA Talk 1580. Black media isn't just important right now, it's essential. Because when mainstream outlets move on, we stay. When the headlines ignore our communities, we don't. When decisions are being made that affect Black lives in our schools, our neighborhoods, our economy, KBLA is in the room. This is more than radio. This is a lifeline, a record, a rallying cry. Black stories, Black voices, Black power.
The heat is on.
On the air and in the culture. KBLA Talk 1580. Stay connected. Stay informed. Stay loud.
Stand up!
Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm feeling some kind of way this afternoon. If you're driving on the 118, the 110, the 5, the 10, the 101, the 405, or if you're at LAX, Orange County, or San Bernardino, and you're listening to my voice right here on KBLA Talk 1580, this coming December, there is an automatic military draft registration that takes effect. and it takes effect for young men between the ages of 18 and 25. And today I have a 22-year-old son who will be 23 years old on his next birthday this coming September. And we've got a lot to be concerned about because his father and a significant number of people in our community do not believe or have confidence in the commander-in-chief of our nation. And that's a problem. When the president of the United States has shown a wanton disregard for the lives of the American people and service members who serve our nation's armed services. I'm concerned about it, and that leads in large measure to our very special guests on this Wealthy Wednesdays worldwide with P.L. De Silva. Dr. P.L. De Silva has over 20 years experience in backroom diplomacy, mediation, and negotiation. He has taught politics, international relations, and several graduate and undergraduate programs at universities in New York, New Jersey. He's taught a number of courses and provided publications that include postmodern insurgencies, political violence, identity formation, and peacemaking in comparative perspective. PL, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse. Great to be on the show.
And our very special guest, John Basuto, is back with us again. He is a seasoned security professional and former British intelligence Army officer with more than 3 decades of experience in military service, international advisory roles, and strategic security operations across Europe, Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. John, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. PL, the war is not going well for the American people under the leadership of President Trump and Pete Hegseth. In fact, I was reading a little bit earlier today that 15 or so charges of impeachment, and maybe that number's wrong, could be more, could be less, but charges of impeachment have been filed by members of the House of Representatives against Pete Hegseth. PL, the war is not going well. What's your insight on what's taking place in Iran and in the Middle East?
This defeat is a strategic defeat, and some military analysts, like Colonel Wilkerson, who was chief of staff to General Colin Powell when he was Secretary of State, they are saying that this defeat, this strategic defeat, could be bigger than Vietnam, the loss in Vietnam. And it could actually see the United States pulling out of the Middle East and the Gulf region and withdrawing completely, opening the door for Iran as a regional power and the decline of Israel, and also for China, which is playing a bigger role behind the scenes. And if you take Egypt, for example, the Chinese are going to build a $2 billion aluminium hub for Africa and Europe. And this is going to be in the Suez region. And they also are running the aerospace program and satellites for the government. So China is already, and all the US put out because of this tragic disaster debacle that took place with, Donald Trump following blindly, Netanyahu in this quixotic, tilting at windmills, knowing that, Iran is a fortress by geography, and that it was impossible, and no other American president ever wanted to go there. But we have a president who's not that smart, it looks like. And also the much wanted Israeli intelligence service, Mossad, is also not that smart. We shouldn't believe their PR. They miscalculated with Iran. And also in Lebanon, the IDF is getting hammered, smashed, defeated. More than 100 Merkava tanks have been taken out. And the Mossad didn't see it coming. Buck didn't see it coming. So come on, guys. We shouldn't drink the Kool-Aid and believe the PR and nonsense that is coming out of the White House and Tel Aviv.
Thank you, PL. I know I'm going to be bringing John Basiro forward when we come forward, but I do just want to say this. The same 18 to 25-year-olds that we're asking to vote, to register and vote in the midterms, they're being asked this coming December to register for the draft. In fact, they're being registered for the draft automatically. And I can only imagine that those who are college educated and others are very concerned at this hour about the direction of this war, and their concerns impact their enthusiasm or lack of enthusiasm for this contest. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward in just a moment.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Break out the champagne. Everybody get a laugh.
You know, 5 years goes fast when you're doing something you love. 5 years of being right there with you, in your car, in your kitchen, at work, in your earbuds. And we don't take that for granted, not for a second. When it came time to celebrate our 5th anniversary, we knew it had to mean something. And we're celebrating on the most fitting day there is, Juneteenth. We're still putting the finishing touches on something really special. And before we tell the world, we want to tell you first. Once we announce this event publicly, we expect that seats are going to go fast, really fast. So go to our website right now at KBLA1580.com and sign up to make sure you're the very first to hear what we've got planned. Before we go public with all the details, you've been riding with us. It's only right you're first to know. KBLA1580.com. We'll see you on Juneteenth for our 5th anniversary banger. Banger, banger, banger.
My perfect day has sand, salt water, and friends. But my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, most people saw 90% clearer skin, and many were even 100% plaque-free at 4 months. Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Can we just talk?
You've heard me say it before, how we talk to one another matters. Earlier this year, we launched our first cohort, and I'm grateful to those who leaned in early and helped to shape the work. Now I'm inviting you to join me for a new live seminar, The Practice of Dialogue, Becoming a More Effective Communicator. This is a small group experience designed to help you strengthen how you communicate in your work, your relationships, and your everyday life. Space is limited to keep the experience personal and interactive. So if you're ready to take your communication to the next level, now is the time to focus on the skills that make conversations meaningful. The new 4-week cohort begins Monday, May 4th, and there's a nice discount for early bird registrants. Visit TavishTalks.com to learn more and reserve your place today. That's TavishTalks.com, because better conversations don't just happen, we practice them.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's Wealthy Wednesdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and worldwide with P.L. Da Silva. And our very special guest is a graduate in politics, philosophy, and economics. He trained at the Royal Military Academy, Sandhurst, and the School of Infantry, war minister before being commissioned into the Queen's Regiment. He has served with the 5 Airborne Brigade and the 16 Air Assault Brigade, gaining significant operational experience, particularly in Northern Ireland. John Basuro, I am particularly honored that you are our guest today.
It's a pleasure, Jesse, and thank you for having me.
John, we need an honest assessment of what's taking place on the ground. We don't know. We obviously don't trust words that emanate from the mouths of our president, our commander-in-chief. The White House is in disarray. There is a chaos that abounds in that particular information. The press conference today left very few Americans satisfied with the kinds of answers that we think they deserve. And many of us who have children in the United States are recognizing that this December, those between 18 and 25 years old will be automatically registered for the draft. Can you share with the American people what they should be concerned about in terms of the state of this conflict in light of decisions that they have to make in the American electoral process in just a few short weeks?
Thank you, Jesse. Yeah. I mean, if I could address the issue of the draft, actually, which you just raised, which I think is deeply concerning and also a very good litmus test in terms of how this war is progressing. Militaries that are on the ascendancy, confident, and have the support of their populace generally don't initiate a draft. Now, most militaries around the world have a number of significant issues in terms of recruiting, particularly, the sort of Gen Z age and demographics. So the fact that they are looking at recruiting people through a draft is concerning. The other, I don't quite know how to phrase it, but I think the blatant hypocrisy of initiating a draft from a commander-in-chief who avoided the draft is, I think, when I was going through Sandhurst, as you kindly said, one of the first things that we were taught was you lead by example. And that is the most important thing. You need to have the physical courage, the moral courage in order to lead your soldiers. And I don't see that emanating, if I'm candid, from your commander-in-chief, Jesse. To initiate a draft when you yourself have not participated in the draft, I think is grossly irresponsible and almost insulting to the military.
John, what is the on the ground in Iran? What would we be theoretically sending our children into?
Well, I think as PL has said, part of the issue is that there is a lack of accurate intelligence, or if the intelligence is there, it's not being portrayed accurately and truthfully. So for an operation like this, you would require significant capabilities to be mustered well in advance and planned well in advance. The military at the moment in the US is stretched extremely thin. You've got, a residue of forces around the Caribbean after Venezuela. You're initiating the early stages of a blockade around Cuba. And now you've also got Iran and you're initiating a blockade there. The quartermaster's cupboard is looking extremely bare. You have a shortage of capabilities in terms of manpower, which potentially is why they're initiating this draft. But it also takes a long time to develop that war-fighting capability from conscripted soldiers. It takes 8 months to train to send a private through basic infantry training, and then probably another 4 to 6 months, depending on the nature of his trade, to actually make him qualified to move into an operational theatre. And that's outside of the pre-deployment training. So minimum 18 months to actually have somebody ready to be deployed if they are going to be part of the draft. And I mean, I think the last time the draft was initiated was in Vietnam, and there were very, very significant consequences as a result of that, you know, in terms of discipline within the ranks, and also just the degradation of the American warfighting capability through that. But
is this war winnable? Is this war winnable without boots on the ground? For those of us who are concerned about our children having to engage in this conscription, is this war winnable on the terms that Donald Trump is presently fighting it without boots on the ground?
Jesse, if I may be candid with you, this war is not winnable with boots on the ground. I mean, Iraq is a smaller country. It's more benign terrain. It has a smaller population. We had a coalition of the willing to support, you know, the effort against Saddam Hussein, which then sort of morphed into a fight against ISIS, and it still was not a winnable war. Here you have a much more complex environment. America is essentially isolated in its campaign against Iran. It obviously has the backing of Israel. But I mean, if I just may actually just pull back to a quote, which I was listening to when prior to the show. And there was a Chinese representative actually speaking on the show. And I quote, "China does not recognize the legitimacy of the action and will defend its rights." So this is now becoming not just an American-Iranian conflict. This is now drawing in major global powers to the conflict. And they are present already, but major powers are being drawn into this beyond what their expectation was. And I think that is why that they are pushing for a rapid de-escalation of this, because the levels of escalation have been very, very significant over the last week. So they need to see the temperature come down, and essentially what I think the regional powers is to get some adults in the room to try and resolve this before it becomes a different level of force being utilized.
PL, the Chinese have defied the U.S. blockade, and unless there's a wink and a nod from the President of the United States to Xi, there's something going on here that is dangerously close to escalation on a scale that we haven't seen before. PL, what do we know about the role that China is playing in this process?
The Chinese they plan way ahead, right? They think, they saw this coming a mile away. They're the only country that has the most amounts of crude oil reserves, which would last them probably four months. And they plan for all of this. And the Chinese are seeing the writing on the wall that the United States will have to pull out from their bases and withdraw from the Gulf and the Middle East. And the Chinese are never going to put boots on the ground. They're interested in trade and development and construction of their Belt and Road Initiative. And they're just going to pick up and expand where the United States have withdrawn. So wherever the the US is withdrawing, the Chinese move in. I mean, we can see this very clearly where the United States pulled out and provided funding when the US defund the United Nations. So it's something that I don't think that the White House comprehends, that in the greater game, it's not about personalities, it's about institutions. And if you pull out, your competitors will come in and take your spot. Very simple.
John, is there anything that we might be missing here in the United States that we should probably better understand about the misinformation of what's actually taking place on the ground in the region?
I mean, I think the lack of clarity and information around the really severe economic consequences of this have not really been understood. And I think that's true in the US. It's in Europe. If you look at the stock markets, the stock markets are maybe 3-5% down on their highs. I think the S&P was about 6-7 today, I think, when I checked. But there is potentially very, very significant economic pain coming down the road. I mean, if you look at Europe, we are desperately short of energy. We are short of gas. We're short of oil. We're literally struggling to put a dime in the gas meter to keep the lights on. We don't have the breadth of supply that is required to maintain heavy industry, and there will be a significant inflationary effect. You're seeing downward growth on this, so we enter that really undesirable area of stagflation, where and that may well carry on for a number of years. So this economic shock, I really don't believe people understand it. To me, it's a mystery that the markets are so buoyant, and we are going to see rising inflation without a doubt. 20% of the world's chemicals, fertilizer, pharmaceuticals generation, and fuel come through the Straits of Hormuz. You're also seeing the same for LNG, of which there are other byproducts that impact semiconductors and acids that are used. So I really don't think people have understood the scale of or the level of impact that there will be on industry, and how that is going to affect everyday consumers in their purchases. Whether it's everyone's talking about the gas price in the US and over here as well, but I don't think people realize the knock-on effects that there will be on the shelves for their everyday purchases.
I just want to comment briefly before we come forward, John, on the consequences of this economic turmoil at the top, that it manifests itself in increased racial tensions on the ground in the United States, attacks on diversity, equity, and inclusion, which the president has suggested is the reason there is stagnant growth in the United States. He said that this week, tying inflation not to the war or to the Strait of Hormuz, but to the social, political, and cultural dynamic that exists in the United States to frustrate people and to put people against each other here on the ground in the United States. That's one of the real consequences that we feel when the economy is not working at the top. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. PL De Silva and John Basuro are a very special guest. More when we come forward on KBLA.
It's Afternoon Drive Time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. The White House says Democratic leaders should have spoken out sooner about what Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt called the despicable behavior of former Congressman Eric Swalwell.
I think the accusations and allegations against former Representative Swalwell are despicable and disgusting.
Leavitt made the comments Wednesday after Swalwell resigned following sexual assault allegations. Residents and business owners in Chicago's Hyde Park are celebrating after helping stop a planned teen takeover. The effort comes after teens caused thousands of dollars in damage last month, prompting Black Mayor Brandon Johnson to urge parents to know where their children are. And Major League Baseball is honoring Jackie Robinson's legacy today with Jackie Robinson Day. The annual observance marks the anniversary of Robinson breaking baseball's color barrier when he debuted with the Brooklyn Dodgers on April 15, 1947. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Recall 67A mobile appointments are now available in your area. We come to you quick, easy, and under an hour. Complete the recall to get $500 plus a warranty worth thousands. Schedule today at CumminsRecall.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
It's a must-win game for the Clippers tonight at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. They need to beat Golden State in a play-in round game. Otherwise, their season is over. Both teams have to win 2 games to earn the 8th and final seed in the Western Conference playoffs. The winner tonight plays at Phoenix Friday night. Hip-hop star J. Cole gave up his roster spot on a pro basketball team in China after 1 game. The 2-time Grammy winner had signed a contract to play at least 3 games with the Nanjing Kings in the Chinese Basketball Association. Cole, who played high school ball in North Carolina, had to leave the team because he could not get an extension on his visa to play all 3 games. The first HBCU football game in the Bahamas is scheduled for November 7th this year. Morehouse and Kentucky State will meet up in the premiere of the HBCU Bahamas Classic in Nassau. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, aka the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
When the story gets twisted, who's going to tell the truth? When they cut the microphones, who's still talking? When history gets rewritten, who remembers what really happened? We do. KBLA Talk 1580. Black media isn't just important right now, it's essential. Because when mainstream outlets move on, we stay. When the headlines ignore our communities, we don't. When decisions are being made that affect Black lives in our schools, our neighborhoods, our economy, KBLA is in the room. This is more than radio. This is a lifeline, a record, a rallying cry. Black stories, Black voices, Black power.
The heat is on.
On the air and in the culture. KBLA Talk 1580. Stay connected. Stay informed. Stay loud.
Hi, Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, host of The Voice of Reason, weeknights at 7 p.m. here on KBLA Talk 1580, with a personal invitation for you to join me and Insight.me as we present The Healing Box, live at Inglewood's world-famous Miracle Theater, Saturday evening, May 23rd at 7 p.m. Look, I understand your attachment style has been running your life like a rogue algorithm, and nobody has had the courage to press pause. Until now, Dr. Pakoya McCall and yours truly are curating a night where clinicians, spiritualists, and an all-star panel of Black woman healers like Dr. Shalonda Sunshine Crawford, Dr. Jashana Johnson, and spiritualist Precious McGill will join some amazing spoken word artists and the legendary comedian Louis Dix to diagnose, disrupt, and heal your relational wreckage in real time. Listen, bring your trauma. As a matter of fact, bring your baby mama. No, bring your testimony. And if you're still texting your ex at 2 a.m., baby, you're not just invited, you're the target demo. Tickets are moving fast, so grab yours at themiracleinglewood.com before your dating history gets flagged as a pre-existing condition. That's themiracleinglewood.com. We'll see you there Saturday, May 23rd at 7 p.m.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome to the J Lunch Club on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It's Wealthy Wednesdays. And on Wealthy Wednesdays, we cover the entire world, particularly the hotspots, on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We're very blessed to have Dr. P.L. Da Silva with over 20 years of experience in Black backroom diplomacy, mediation, and negotiation, and John Basiru. John, after completing a master's in defense economics at the University of York in 1997 and further training in finance and business management at the University of Westminster, John moved into the private security sector. He has worked in Sierra Leone, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, South Sudan, Kenya, and Zambia, advising governments and military leaders in the security sector. And he is an important contributor to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show because of his expertise on what's taking place in Iran, in the Hormuz Strait, and in the Middle East generally. John and PL, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I can't hear them for some reason.
Thank you.
Oh, with that said, I want to thank you guys for coming back. Listen, let me ask this question. I feel, as a former elected official, the downward pressure of the economic tensions that's taking place in the Hormuz Strait, in the region, not only the price of gas, the price of fertilizer, the behavior of farmers who are not able to plant their crops properly in the season. And as a result of it, and I'm sure Martin Luther King Jr. picked up on this, there is a tension amongst the American people where we don't turn to each other, we turn on each other because it's always the fault of the other that we're not doing as well as we should be doing, when there are forces that are larger in the world that are really dictating exactly what's taking place at the local level. PL, do you ascribe to that point of view?
Yes, most definitely. I mean, we may not like Trump, we may not like Bibi Netanyahu, but there are billionaires, the Epstein class, the pro-Zionist billionaires who are actually the puppeteers. And basically Trump and Netanyahu are dancing to their tune. And that's what the everyday citizens in our countries, whether it be the United States or Britain or Europe or Asia or East Asia, that's something that we don't see. That's the invisible strings that are being pulled. And these people, they have more money than they could ever spend in many lifetimes. They'd probably be the richest people in the cemetery. But they're the ones they're destroying our politics and our civil society. And we have no recourse to take them on because they are not elected. We can only, change our elected representatives. But these people who are behind the scenes, the super PACs and all these people who are behind, we have no way of holding them to be accountable. And that is a problem of our system, that we have allowed money to infiltrate, and I'm talking about big money, to corrupt everything that it touches. And the good book says money is the root of all evil. And the greed of these people is unfathomable. I mean, how much money could you really want to have? And that's a problem. It's a serious structural flaw in the capitalist financial system, that we are unable to hold the billionaires to account. That's the problem.
John, the defeat of Viktor Orban, what does that signal in light of all that is taking place in the Middle East and around the world?
That actually was, I was going to lead on with that after Pierre was saying, and how it is important that we hold our elected representatives accountable, because I think the defeat of Viktor Orban in Hungary was a far more seismic event than most people will give it credit for. I think we are seeing now the beginning of the end of the right-wing movements across Europe, and I think certainly in the US as well. There's obviously been a significant backlash in the US over the last couple of days against the president for various reasons. But in Hungary particularly, where there has been this nationalism, and again, a level of corruption, as you've seen in the US, that the country never experienced before. There are scandals in the UK with Nigel Farage, our sort of, right-wing nationalist party leader, around crypto and all the rest of it. So I think people are starting to become wise that, yes, it's easy to blame the other person. The problems are immigration or, other echo chambers that you can enter into in society to amplify your grievances. But I think that, and this is a ray of hope, Jesse, that I think the right-wing nationalist movements focused on blood and soil, as it was in 1940s Germany, are now coming to an end. They are being seen for what they are.
Pierre, why should I take the ceasefire or the negotiations between the Iranians and the delegation that was sent by the United States to Pakistan? Why should I take that seriously when it's led by J.D. Vance, Kushner, and the other gentleman whose name escapes me at this hour? Why should I take that seriously?
Witkoff. Yeah, no, these are neophytes. They're not capable of understanding complex issues. And they're certainly not technocrats who understand anything, whether it's geostrategy or nuclear issues or fissile material, etc., etc. So that's a problem. But we must understand that the negotiations that took place, the 15 points that were presented by the United States to the Iranian side through the Pakistanis, were not actually American points. They were all Israeli points that the Americans were fielding on behalf of Netanyahu and his crazy Zionist extremists in government. And that's the problem, that the United States this is not in the interests of the United States or its people or its taxpayers to fight this war or negotiate with the Iranians. I heard today that the Pakistani team of mediators has landed in Tehran. So in the next couple of days, there's probably going to be talks either in Vienna or in Vienna, Austria, or in Switzerland. So let's see what it brings out. But at the end of the day, Donald Trump has to get off his hobby horse. Otherwise, he's going to get knocked off it clean.
I think it's crystal clear that the negotiations are not going well, that it almost looks like they're realtors negotiating on the American side, while very serious diplomats, including the foreign minister of Iran, who has been clear and clearly articulate that the 5 points that they raised as Iranians clearly show, from my perspective, that the Iranians perceive themselves as being the lead negotiating team winning the endeavor, and that the 15 points offered by the United States suggest a surrender and a kind of capitulation. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More with PL and John Basiru when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, LA. Tax money is our money. Let's decide how to spend it together. We deserve investments that actually make our neighborhoods safe, like affordable housing, good jobs, fire prevention and protection, and community support programs. How can we make that happen? Join Black Lives Matter Los Angeles and the Movement for Black Lives for the People's Budget Assembly on April 16th. Together, we'll discuss solutions to problems we're facing and make a plan with fellow Angelinos for a city that works for the people. There'll be food, childcare, and great conversation. It's time to demand a budget that puts the people first. Join us on April 16th at 7 p.m. at BLMLA's Center for Black Power and make your voice heard before the Assembly through the People's Budget Survey. Register today at peoplesbudgetla.com. We'll see you there.
When temperatures climb, LADWP wants to help you stay cool indoors, starting in your attic. With quality attic insulation, your home can stay more comfortable during hot summer days and help lower your energy bills year-round. It's a smart way to save. And for a limited time, LADWP has increased the attic insulation rebates to make upgrading more affordable. Act now to start saving. Visit ladwp.com/attic. That's ladwp.com/attic. From station to stage, LA Metro connects you to the artistic heart of Los Angeles. Celebrate this National Arts Month with Metro, exploring galleries, theaters, and cultural spaces across the city. Art isn't just where you end up, it's how you get there.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 joins you in standing for voting rights. The midterm election campaign season is here now. The 2028 presidential election is right around the corner. When We All Vote is a leading national nonpartisan initiative on a mission to change the culture around voting and to increase participation in each and every election by helping to close the race and age gap. Created by Michelle Obama, When We All Vote brings together individuals, institutions, brands, and organizations to register new voters across the country and advance civic education for the entire family and voters of every age to build an informed and engaged electorate for today and generations to come. When We All Vote empowers their supporters and volunteers to take action through voting, advocating for their rights, and holding their elected officials accountable. It's all in for 2026 and 2028. Please visit whenweallvote.org to stand up for your rights, voting rights. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Roger and Tracy saved over $18,400. Cynthia was recovering from a family tragedy and saved over $10,300. If you are drowning in debt, then call Debt Blue. Debt Blue is a professional debt negotiation firm with over 20 years of experience helping people pay back a fraction of what they owe. Learn how to cut your debt up to half or maybe more. Be debt-free in 24 to 48 months, even with bad credit. With an A+ rating from the BBB, you can rest easy knowing Debt Blue is going to deliver guaranteed debt reduction. Debt Blue offers a success guarantee. You pay nothing unless your debt is reduced or completely resolved. That's right. You save money or it's free. Call now for significant debt relief and a free consultation. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879. You don't have to declare bankruptcy. This program works if you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in debt. Call for your free consultation today. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Michael's Daughter Foundation is dedicated to inspiring youth and resilience through storytelling, arts, filmmaking, and enrichment programs for youth and families in under-resourced communities and system-impacted individuals. The Michael's Daughter Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit providing free and low-cost arts programs to youth and families from under-resourced communities, both system-impacted youth and those affected by the incarceration of a loved one. 1 in 43 children in America have a parent incarcerated. 70% of those children are expected to end up in prison. Through filmmaking, animation, theater, and writing, they help young people express themselves, build confidence, and imagine new possibilities. Beyond the arts, they offer financial literacy workshops, emergency support, and scholarships. Because thriving takes more than talent, it takes access. To learn more about the impact of Michael Daughters Foundation and how you can be a part of the movement, please visit their website, michaelsdaughterfoundation.com. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show in our final segment. If you are on the 405, the 101, the 10, the 5, the 110, the 118, this coming December, there will be automatic conscription for eligible 18 to 25-year-old Americans to join the armed services. And if you think that that isn't enough to go out and vote and be concerned about your child in this upcoming election, I simply do not know what can move you. I have one son. I have one daughter. And the idea of them being sent to a foreign battlefield by Donald Trump is something that keeps me up late at night. In the next hour, Reverend Dr. Todd Yeary will be our very special guest on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. He has 1 foot in the courtroom and 1 foot in the pulpit, both a PhD and a lawyer. And Dr. Yeary is one of our greatest contributors on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. But in this hour, I'm particularly honored that P.L. Da Silva and John Basiro are our guests. I just want to ask P.L. a question. P.L., what keeps you up at night?
My goodness. But what keeps me up at night is the possibility that Netanyahu and the crazies in Tel Aviv would consider using a nuclear device or more than one nuclear device on Iran, on Tehran, once they know that the gig is up with regard to the conventional war fighting, because they're on the losing side. I mean, the Iranians have missile domination over Israeli airspace, and also over U.S. military bases where they are striking at will. They are using, tactical intermediate ballistic missiles, hypersonic missiles, and drones, FPV suicide drones and ISR drones that, shoot and scoot. So all of this means that the Iranians are fighting a 21st century war, and the Americans and the Israelis are fighting a 20th century war where they're trying to have force projection through a blue water navy and aircraft carriers, which are obsolete since they're 1,300 nautical miles away from the Iranian coast, to avoid getting hit by hypersonic missiles. And the Merkava tank for the Israelis is obsolete, as we have seen. More than 100 have been taken out by Hezbollah. So that's the situation. So when it comes to a desperate Netanyahu, who is having elections in October, re-election campaign, he may want to use a mushroom cloud to see whether that would bolster his chances. And I wouldn't put it past him, because he's a mass murderer, he's a genocidaire, and he has no conscience. And he really believes in all the absurd things that he says about Eretz Israel, about a greater Israel, which is like what Hitler said about, Lebensraum, that we need living room. And Voltaire, the 17th century French philosopher, said it very clearly. He said, if we believe in absurdities, we shall commit atrocities. And that's exactly what the Israelis are doing, whether it is against the Palestinians, in Lebanon, in Syria, in Iraq, and in Iran. It's a rogue regime, a terrorist government.
Well, now I'm going to be up all night because I hadn't given much thought to the idea that the bomb was even in play in your thinking as it relates to the present crisis. I mean, that would be a globally catastrophic event that is beyond the pale. That the bomb may be considered as a last resort in this process towards peace. We've been led to believe over the course of this campaign that this is about keeping Iran from getting a nuclear weapon, PL, but it is the Israelis in the Middle East who are the only country that has the bomb, even though they have not admitted to the bomb. Do you find that particularly ironic, that stopping Iran from getting the bomb while the Israelis are just a finger, a button away, if you will, from using the bomb itself?
The problem is that ever since the creation of Israel, we have allowed them impunity. There have been many United Nations resolutions that would have, curtailed all the atrocities that were being meted out to the hapless Palestinians and the Lebanese and the Syrians and others, and also all the assassinations that they're doing, which are totally illegal. It's totally illegal. Acts of war, assassinating General Omar Soleimani in a consulate. That's an act of war in itself. The Iranians had restraint, and they're much more sophisticated than the ham-handed Israelis who think that they can kill their way to success. It's not. They don't understand the first thing about mediation, negotiation, diplomacy. They don't know the word. Neither does Trump, nor does Netanyahu. And these are the problems that we have in this world, because, we have two crazy people who have been run by, pro-Zionist billionaires who are going to ruin this world for us. And that's what keeps me sleepless at night.
Pia, we have about a minute and 30 seconds. A final word of hope.
Final word of hope is that I truly believe in the power of the American people, and that there will be a blue wave that will wash away the stain of Donald Trump and his band of crooks and thugs. But it cannot stop there. We need to change the power equation of big money and billionaires meddling in our democratic process. And that is the second step, where we truly need to kick the big money out of our politics and make sure that AIPAC and others are not allowed to meddle, that this country is going to be inviolate, and that is the next big hurdle. And I'm hopeful that the American people will be up to the task.
You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. That was P.L. De Silva. Our very special guest, P.L. De Silva and John Bissaru, have joined us. More when we come forward on KBLS with Dr. Todd Yeary.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. The White House says Democratic leaders should have spoken out sooner about what Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt called the despicable behavior of former Congressman Eric Swalwell.
I think the accusations and allegations against former Representative Swalwell are despicable and disgusting.
Leavitt made the comments Wednesday after Swalwell resigned following sexual assault allegations. Residents and business owners in Chicago's Hyde Park are celebrating after helping stop a planned teen takeover. The effort comes after teens caused thousands of dollars in damage last month, prompting Black Mayor Brandon Johnson to urge parents to know where their children are. And Major League Baseball is honoring Jackie Robinson's legacy today with Jackie Robinson Day. The annual observance marks the anniversary of Robinson breaking baseball's color barrier when he debuted with the Brooklyn Dodgers on April 15, 1947. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Recall 67A mobile appointments are now available in your area. We come to you quick, easy, and under an hour. Complete the recall to get $500 plus a warranty worth thousands. Schedule today at Cummins.recall.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
It's a must-win game for the Clippers tonight at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. They need to beat Golden State in a play-in round game. Otherwise, their season is over. Both teams have to win 2 games to earn the 8th and final seed in the Western Conference playoffs. The winner tonight plays at Phoenix Friday night. Hip-hop star J. Cole gave up his roster spot on a pro basketball team in China after 1 game. The 2-time Grammy winner had signed a contract to play at least 3 games with the Nanjing Kings in the Chinese Basketball Association. Cole, who played high school ball in North Carolina, had to leave the team because he could not get an extension on his visa to play all 3 games. The first HBCU football game in the Bahamas is scheduled for November 7th this year. Morehouse and Kentucky State will meet up in the premiere of the HBCU Bahamas Classic in Nassau. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
In a world full of noise, one station keeps it real. KBLA Talk 1580, where the conversation goes deeper, the voices sound like yours, and the issues that matter most to our community take center stage. Progressive, powerful, unapologetically us. Whether you're driving through the city or tuning in from your home or office, join the public square. KBLA Talk 1580. Your home for talk that enlightens, encourages, and empowers. Listen live on our free KBLA 1580 app, on our website at KBLA1580.com, or on your radio dial at 1580 AM.
Unapologetically progressive.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We're in the second hour of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on Wealthy Wednesdays and the politics of our faith with Dr. S. Todd Yeary, principal of the Yeary Firm, a Maryland-based litigation and government relations firm. But just before Todd comes forward, the very definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result, when the result every time is going to be the same. Sometimes it takes months and even years to negotiate peace, to negotiate terms, to negotiate ceasefires, to negotiate trade routes, and to arrive at reasonable understanding between differing parties. But Donald Trump thinks this can happen in a 2-week period. He thinks it's over when his gut tells him that it's over. He thinks that he can declare victory when he believes he's achieved certain military goals. But the consequences of this president's behavior are so far-reaching that even a nickel on a gallon of gas at the pump in your neighborhood is impacted by his behavior. The cost of eggs, the cost of fertilizer. You have more month left over than you do paycheck. And that is impacted by the erratic behavior that this president has exhibited in this conflict. The shock to global markets, from the Nikkei to the New York Stock Exchange, to the Commodities Exchange, to the Futures Exchange, to markets all over the world, are impacted by the erratic behavior of the President of the United States. One of the things that I want to focus on in this hour, because Dr. King talked about it in Beyond Vietnam, was that there is a relationship between the economy and how we are treated domestically. How racial tensions rise in the workplace when white folk feel uncomfortable or that they're not making progress because they're working next to black folk, and black folk feel some kind of way when they're working next to white folk, because we all find ourselves in an environment when the economy is not doing well for everybody. We look for scapegoats. And the tension is felt from one end of this country to the other. And it is palpable. It is at the foundation of whether or not we feel comfortable in relating to each other. I don't know anyone who understands these issues better than Dr. S. Todd Yeary. Dr. Yeary, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580 and the Politics of Our Faith with Todd Yeary.
Well, good to be with you as always, and I see you do the lead in, you do the setting up now before you bring me on camera, so that I just walk right into it. So we just take it as you serving it today. I see that's what we've got. Listen, a couple of things. One, the psychology of this president is such that he likes being erratic. Because I think in some sense, he likes the notion that he can manipulate markets and affect then the wealth of some of those that he feels like have disparaged him over the years. And as we've seen recently, he's not really all that concerned about what's happening with regular everyday people, because he says, look, if gas is going to be $4 or $5 a gallon, for a little while, then, we're okay with it. Because we got to keep Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. Well, you had a framework in place before, as you were coming in the first term, and you decided you wanted to unravel that whole accountability project anyway. So this notion about where we are in this 250th year of this experiment called America is we have the most reckless and erratic president doing whatever he feels like in the moment, based on what he might read in a tweet or a post somewhere. And then he uses his playground, if you will, which is Truth Social, to see how he can disrupt everybody else's life in the meantime.
Dr. Yeary, give me just a moment. Let me take us out at the mark here. And I want you to come back into the program. Just share with you that I agree with what you're saying. That the spirit energy at the very top of our nation, the way our nation is structured, the way things are communicated globally, the way in which the internet travels so fast that it impacts not only the spirit energy of markets, but it impacts the spirit energies of how we feel as individuals. That I personally feel some type of way about downward economic pressures. If you don't think that you're impacted by this, I played yesterday a song on our show called No Merc. And Merc, by the way, stands for milk. And while it's a very popular dance on social media and the lyrics are absolutely hilarious, the story is about a man talking with his girlfriend about not shopping at Kroger's, but shopping at Family Dollar. And he wanted to save money. So rather than have labels on all of the grocery items, he was used to eating noodles with no packet, cereal with no Merc, no milk. He was used to eating syrup sandwiches and waffles with no syrup. And he had even bought Salisbury steaks that needed to be seasoned, but his girlfriend was complaining that she didn't want to feed that food to none of her children because it didn't have labels on it. And he didn't understand how he could bring home $360 worth of groceries, and she's complaining that they should be $800 groceries, when what he's been through in his life, he knows that he can work a Salisbury steak. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward in just a moment with Todd Yeary.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Break out the champagne. Everybody get a glass.
You know, 5 years goes fast when you're doing something you love. 5 years of being right there with you, in your car, in your kitchen, at work, in your earbuds. And we don't take that for granted, not for a second. When it came time to celebrate our 5th anniversary, we knew it had to mean something. And we're celebrating on the most fitting day there is, Juneteenth. We're still putting the finishing touches on something really special. And before we tell the world, we want to tell you first. Once we announce this event publicly, we expect that seats are going to go fast, really fast. So go to our website right now at KBLA1580.com and sign up to make sure you're the very first to hear what we've got planned. Before we go public with all the details, you've been riding with us. It's only right you're first to know. KBLA1580.com. We'll see you on Juneteenth for our 5th anniversary banger. Banger, banger, banger.
My perfect day has sand, salt water, and friends. But my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, most people saw 90% clearer skin, and many were even 100% plaque-free at 4 months. Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Can we just talk? You've heard me say it before, how we talk to one another matters. Earlier this year, we launched our first cohort, and I'm grateful to those who leaned in early and helped to shape the work. Now I'm inviting you to join me for a new live seminar, The Practice of Dialogue. Becoming a More Effective Communicator. This is a small group experience designed to help you strengthen how you communicate in your work, your relationships, and your everyday life. Space is limited to keep the experience personal and interactive. So if you're ready to take your communication to the next level, now is the time to focus on the skills that make conversations meaningful. The new 4-week cohort begins Monday, May 4th, and there's a nice discount for early bird registrants. Visit TavishTalks.com to learn more and reserve your place today. That's TavishTalks.com, because better conversations don't just happen, we practice them.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Todd Yeary will be back with us in just a moment, but I was thinking about something during the break that I wanted to share with our listeners, and that is this. Social justice movements tend to do better when the economy is doing better. And from 1964, the passage of the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, public accommodations legislation, open housing legislation, when the economy is doing better, we make progress because the American people genuinely have no problems with an economy that benefits everyone. That is, where all boats, including some boats that have been stuck at the bottom historically, rise with the rising tide. When the economy is constrained, tariffs, high prices, low wages, when the economy is constrained, it is more difficult to turn to each other and easier to turn on each other and blame the other for why your life isn't making progress, or why you're not making forward progress, or why you're not doing better than your parents did in the exact same space. Now, this is not a theory. This is verifiable. And so those who have their fingers on the control rods of the American economy, including but not limited to artificial intelligence, crypto, the billionaire class that we spoke about in the last segment of the show, there is this concern that as they make more money and the economy itself becomes more and more efficient, that there is a displacement factor for those of us who are not in that class. And the consequences of that from our interactions in schools, police departments, stops and frisks, the consequences of that are so extraordinary that it literally tears at the fabric of the United States. And that's why paying attention to these economic indicators are also one of the best indicators as to whether or not the nation is even in the mood for social progress. Dr. Todd Yeary is back with us on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and the politics of our faith. Dr. Yeary, welcome forward.
You are navigating deep waters today. We often miss the connection between certain conduct and certain outcomes. Because we are global in how we function, whether the president agrees with it or likes it, erratic behavior that appears not to directly affect us at home will eventually catch up with us. We're seeing it in terms of gas prices, energy prices will likely follow. If we continue to have destabilization in the region, just based on the way geography works and how goods are shipped, you can expect that there's going to be inflationary pressure on the cost of goods, which is why the president wants to hurry up and get rid of Jerome Powell, even after his term is up, though he would stay to see this DOJ investigation through. It's because he thinks that he can manipulate the economy to his whim, to give the impression that the behavior that he exhibits doesn't really hurt the masses. The reality is, we know that's not the case because wages are not keeping up, the gaps are getting wider, the challenges are getting greater. And in the meantime, the president lives as a convicted felon in public housing.
Todd, the president promises a more than $1.5 trillion, $500 billion military budget amongst his highest priorities. And he said recently that Medicare, Medicaid, and all of these other social programs he doesn't have time for because his job is to conduct wars. Your thoughts on the unraveling of the social fabric as a result of the president's proclamation?
Well, the part that was stunning to me is the care system that he added was child care. If you're going to have a worker-based economy, one of the biggest impediments to being able to get into the economy is the absence of childcare, particularly preschool, after school, as in before the school day, after the school day. He doesn't get it because he didn't have to get it. He didn't have to deal with it. And so when he says those things, Medicare and Medicaid will never be his problem because he gets to stay on the public dime for the rest of his days, having been elected president of the United States. It's the rest of us that have to figure it out. And so if you've got seniors on Medicare, if you've got poor people on Medicaid, including those who live in some of the poorest places in the country, in West Virginia, in Mississippi, and the like, then you have to ask yourself the question, if he says the states need to pay for it, where's it going to come from? He says he's going to pay the states. What he's going to pay is the expansion of the military industrial complex, which is exactly what Dr. King raised as the concern, that you spend all of this money on weapons at the expense of the human dignity and the rights of particularly the poor. And so we have to think about what does it mean when we say elections have consequences. We often throw that out, but we don't really make the connection, right? The Affordable Care Act has been undermined. People can't go to the doctor. They're cutting back on vaccines. We're seeing the resurgence of illnesses that we've not seen in well over a generation. We're seeing folks not be able to pay rent, and in some instances, not even be able to pay attention. And so the cost of everything, including functioning, is getting more costly by the moment. And the president just doesn't seem to have a plan, except he'll find another fight to start, like the bully on the playground. Venezuela was a test. Iran is a test. He'll find somebody else in a minute, except those that he really has to contend with, because he's trying to flex, right? So that's what the bully tries to do on the playground. He tries to flex and give the impression that he's the biggest, the strongest, the baddest. But he's often the one that understands the least about how the playground functions, because other kids have toys too that they can play with, and they also know how to navigate on the playground. That fight is called the ballot box. And while he's trying to hijack that, moving folks around, getting rid of mail-in voting, forcing states to turn over their voter rolls in order to stay accessible to public dollars, federal public dollars, is problematic. The only movement that gets this thing back in place is the people's movement.
Dr. Urey, I'd like to pivot for a moment to the chess game that is the midterms across a chessboard that takes on the geographic shape of the United States in 435 congressional districts across the country. And these ethics challenges that members of Congress are confronting, I've posited the thesis earlier this week in the show that there are two standards. There is the criminal standard of due process, but for members of Congress in these difficult positions in the House, there is also the perception standard. That is the political standard that suggests you become a liability to your political party. And even though you may have issues that need to be handled before a judge in a particular jurisdiction, either federal or state, that the perception standard in the Congress, in light of what the two members of Congress who just resigned this week did, has now bled over into the race, or if you will, into the sheriff loose out of Florida issue, where there is still talk of expulsion votes. Can you help our listeners understand the difference between the perception of wrongdoing and the criminal standard of due process? Two different standards.
Two different standards. How they are applied actually is tied to perception, quite honestly. The perception of due process in a criminal proceeding is often going to be contingent upon the perception about the person who's claiming, right, that right to due process. And those outcomes will very often look very different. You can have two people. We saw it in sentencing disparity, right? Same crime, but not the same time. We saw the disparities when you had powder cocaine versus crack. If you got jammed up on crack, your sentence was much longer than powder. The perception was the distinction, not the chemical makeup of the thing, so to speak. And so we see this time and time again. Perception, the political perception, is kind of tied to timing, right? You're in the throes of the midterm now. You don't have time. Neither side. Anything that comes up at this point, they just throwing them overboard. You throw over one Democrat, you throw over one Republican, because you don't want to get sidetracked into a further discussion about perceived wrongdoing at a time when the Epstein files is still front and center in many ways. And so we have these big distractions to change the narrative and the conversation to take us off task. But in the criminal legal system, and I call it that for a reason, right? We see injustices every day, the perceptions about who comes before courts across the country and how the rules are applied, how the rulings are actually passed. And we hear that, and that's not just my take on it. You are hearing it from some of the justices on the Supreme Court when they are writing their dissents about how the law is being reshaped contrarily to the way we have kind of evolved as a country. So at 250 years in, our biggest threat is regression. Going back to a place where now the whole body of what we would call civil rights law that informs everything from civil cases to criminal proceedings is likely to be undermined because though it was based on the treatment of formerly enslaved African descended persons, it is now the thing that somehow or other, to make up for that harm, which is a huge part of that 250-year calculus, is somehow an affront to everybody else. And so perception does matter. That's why we can't just opt out in a process where people would try to white us out. Remember whiteout when you couldn't use it in typing. I had to learn how to use a typing eraser and a brush because I learned to type on a manual typewriter. If you need to know what that is, Google it. But the reality is when you don't want something to show up on paper, you reach in the drawer and you get some whiteout. We're going through a period of whiteout. We're whiting out social justice. We're whiting out women's rights advances. We're whiting out voter access. We're whiting out economic opportunity. Because they're not just talking about it, they're proving it every single day. Doge was the least of our problems. Doge is gone. It's who they left behind that's wreaking havoc and taking a wrecking ball to this government that we want to celebrate is 250 years old.
You know, let me say, not once in 250 years has there been a successful case where white folks have been discriminated against in the United States. And yet the EEOC and others are arguing and asking for plaintiffs to step forward to suggest that they have been discriminated because of aggressive recruiting of qualified African Americans at historically black colleges and universities, or even African Americans who may have been given the opportunity to attend a PWI, predominantly white institution, that they are not qualified to be there, and therefore they are not qualified to receive and be the beneficiaries of the upward mobility that comes as a result of higher education. This administration is turning civil rights laws on its head, and it is making white folks, particularly white men, but not limited to them, victims of racial discrimination, and there is no history in 250 years of that being true. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our very special guest, Dr. S. Todd Yeary. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. The White House says there has been no formal extension of the Iran ceasefire. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt pushed back on those reports Wednesday while saying negotiations with Iran are still ongoing.
We remain very much engaged in these negotiations, in these talks.
She also said there is no official announcement yet on any new face-to-face talks. A Northwest Georgia lawmaker is apologizing for a blackface costume he wore before taking office. State Representative Casey Carpenter posted the photo himself this week, showing him dressed as rapper Kanye West. The Republican called it a poor decision, but said he hopes people can get to a place where things are not taken so seriously. And Maryland's Black Governor Wes Moore marked World Quantum Day with a groundbreaking for the new Applied Research Laboratory for Intelligence and Security Headquarters. The $65 million project will be built in the University of Maryland Discovery District. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Recall 67A mobile appointments are now available in your area. We come to you quick, easy, and under an hour. Complete the recall to get $500 plus a warranty worth thousands. Schedule today at CumminsRecall.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
It's a must-win game for the Clippers tonight at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. They need to beat Golden State in a play-in round game. Otherwise, their season is over. Both teams have to win 2 games to earn the 8th and final seed in the Western Conference playoffs. The winner tonight plays at Phoenix Friday night. Hip-hop star J. Cole gave up his roster spot on a pro basketball team in China after 1 game. The 2-time Grammy winner had signed a contract to play at least 3 games with the Nanjing Kings in the Chinese Basketball Association. Cole, who played high school ball in North Carolina, had to leave the team because he could not get an extension on his visa to play all 3 games. The first HBCU football game in the Bahamas is scheduled for November 7th this year. Morehouse and Kentucky State will meet up in the premiere of the HBCU Bahamas Classic in Nassau. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, host of The Voice of Reason, weeknights at 7 p.m. here on KBLA Talk 1580, with a personal invitation for you to join me and Insight.me as we present The Healing Box, live at Inglewood's world-famous Miracle Theater, Saturday evening, May 23rd at 7 p.m. Look, I understand your attachment style has been running your life like a rogue algorithm, and nobody has had the courage to press pause. Until now, Dr. Pakoya McCall and yours truly are curating a night where clinicians, spiritualists, and an all-star panel of Black woman healers like Dr. Shalonda Sunshine Crawford, Dr. Jashana Johnson, and spiritualist Precious McGill will join some amazing spoken word artists and the legendary comedian Louis Dix to diagnose, disrupt, and heal your relational wreckage in real time. Listen, bring your trauma. As a matter of fact, bring your baby mama. No, bring your testimony. And if you're still texting your ex at 2 a.m., baby, you're not just invited, you're the target demo. Tickets are moving fast, so grab yours at themiracleinglewood.com before your dating history gets flagged as a pre-existing condition. That's themiracleinglewood.com. We'll see you there Saturday, May 23rd at 7 p.m.
Roger and Tracy saved over $18,400. Cynthia was recovering from a family tragedy and saved over $10,300. If you are drowning in debt, then call Debt Blue. Debt Blue is a professional debt negotiation firm with over 20 years of experience helping people pay back a fraction of what they owe. Learn how to cut your debt up to half or maybe more. Be debt-free in 24 to 48 months, even with bad credit. With an A+ rating from the BBB, you can rest easy knowing Debt Blue is going to deliver guaranteed debt reduction. Debt Blue offers a success guarantee. You pay nothing unless your debt is reduced or completely resolved. That's right. You save money or it's free. Call now for significant debt relief and a free consultation. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879. You don't have to declare bankruptcy. This program works if you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in debt. Call for your free consultation today. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on Wealthy Wednesdays, where Dr. Yeri is our very special regular contributor, The Politics of Our Faith, with Dr. S. Todd Yeri. Dr. Yeri's social justice work was having served on the national board of the National Action Network from 2015 to 2021, past political action chair for the Maryland State Conference of the NAACP as co-founding principal of Community Churches for Community Development, and as founding principal of Strategic Advocacy and Legislative Think Tank, a faith-based public policy collaborative that works on regional national empowerment strategies impacting disaffected communities. Dr. Yeri, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Always good to be with you. I learned to swim better in deep water hanging out with you.
Man, I appreciate you so much. The water that you call deep, I consider shallow. I'm just learning as I go, and you help. You're a teacher of teachers, and I'm grateful for our friendship and grateful for your leadership and grateful for that which you contribute to our dialogue and engagement for a better world and a better nation and a better world. Dr. Yeri, let me ask you a question. I spent the better part of last week in New York at the National Action Network Conference, and Reverend Sharpton, I'm so proud of his leadership. He was able to command all of the Democratic candidates. One, of course, apologized for not being able to be there, the governor of California, Gavin Newsom. We won't hold that against him unless he misses the next one. But every single one of them showed up. And I must share with you that I did not see the kind of excitement, given all that the nation has been through, from the contenders. That is, I said to myself as I listened to each of the contenders, will millions of people register to vote because of this candidate or because of this campaign? Will we venture into the red states in search of 270 electoral votes, which is necessary in order to win the presidency of the United States? I thought about the cult of personality when I was on in the House chamber for the State of the Union address shortly after my father's passing at the invitation of Hakeem Jeffries, and the cult of personality that Donald Trump is. I did not see a cult of personality that stood out to me as, if you will, the alternative to Donald Trump. Dr. Yeary, I am concerned about whether or not the kind of energy that was brought to the political and the body politic in 2008 by Barack Obama is what we can expect in 2028, or will it just be a vote against Donald Trump? Dr. Yeary? And is that enough?
Well, you know, the answer to every question in law school, they tell us is it depends, right? 2 years out is a long time. We're trying to look out of the front windshield to get through the midterm. And you set it up properly, right? 435 members of the House, 1/3 of the Senate up for election this year. Some, most of them, all 435, give or take those who've stepped out, and you may have some vacancies. I don't think there'll be any special elections with the resignations the other day. We got to be clear on learning the rules of this politics. We're not going to be able to command attention for 2 years and have everybody hold out waiting to see who's going to be president. We have a president, and this president is, I think, without having to do too much selling, is having a direct impact on how we live our lives. The checks and balances, the rules and the norms that we have come to expect from the federal government have either been discarded writ large or overlooked. And so our focus has to be learning how government works. This is a civics exercise. We have to understand how the House interacts and interplays with the Senate, that spending bills that deal with federal revenues always start in the House. So whoever is your representative matters, because that's where, if federal money is needed for something that's on your agenda, you need to be engaged in that conversation. If some of the earmarks that go back to congressional districts apply to your community, your organization, and you're trying to figure out how do you tap into some of that, you need to understand these rules. On the Senate side, when we talk about who gets confirmed, particularly not just to the cabinet, but to the courts, when we're trying to have enforcement of federal law, who is interpreting that law, particularly at the early stages of litigation, matters. And so we've got to be intentional. We have to stop, I think, in many ways, using short-term incentives and hoping it translates into long-term outcomes. This is the long game, and it starts with, what do we do in 2026? How do we put up a firewall with a president that has already put $1.5 trillion on the table for the military, has gutted the Affordable Care Act, says he can't pay attention to Medicare and Medicaid or child care, is dismantling the Department of Education as we speak, and is about to go back and get rid of the 12 convictions of some of the most prominent perpetrators of J6 because he has that kind of power to use the government as his tool. And so unless we're going to become subjects, we have no king's rallies. And just because the Joker don't wear a crown does not mean he's not trying to act like a monarch. Most
Dr.
of the
Yeary,
time you don't.
Dr.
Go
Yeary,
ahead.
when I sat there at the organization that you were a board member of, I listened very carefully because I thought Reverend Sharpton's questions were probing of the candidates. What I did not hear was day one executive orders to overturn what Donald Trump has done. I did not hear that. I don't think we have to negotiate with the Democratic president over the course of their 4 years to fix some of what Donald Trump has done, when on day one we could be in a position to fix all of what he has done, at least in the space of executive orders. I did not hear anyone say that on day one, I'm rehiring 300,000 Black women who lost their jobs and were taken out of the government by Donald John Trump, by essentially executive order, and by the, if you will, by Doge and the Elon Musk anti-DEI. The depositions are showing that in real time, that they were told to look for DEI hires and to remove Black women. I mean, I'm wondering if we are establishing a new normal unless we see a Democrat who is willing to do that. And with these 2 minutes coming forward, let me say this. Can you share with us your thoughts on Wes Moore? I did find something particularly appealing about the Maryland governor.
All right, so we have to remember there's sequence in politics. The presidential election is in 2028. Wes Moore is up for re-election as governor this year. If there are aspirations that the governor, my governor, has, the first thing he's got to establish is kind of home base electability. It's kind of hard to lose your re-election campaign and then come up 2 years later and say, oh, I want to be president of the United States. It's the same issue that J.B. Pritzker is facing. And so we got to be clear on sequence and process. That's why we got to have a civics conversation to understand how we play the long game and not expect that we're going to get answers today for a situation they won't be able to affect until after January 20th, 2029. What we going to do in the meantime?
That's great. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Dr. S. Todd Yeary is making it clear to us. More on KBLA Talk 1580 and the politics of our faith when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. At the heart of the Al Wooten Center's mission for good citizenship and academic excellence is a desire to ensure that every student avoids the kind of lifestyle and overcomes the kinds of challenges that led to the murder of Al Wooten Jr. In 1990, founder Myrtle Fay Rumpf opened the center in honor of her son's life. In 2026, they are serving more than 300 students in grades 3 through 12 annually online and on site at their youth center and other sites in the South LA area. The Al Wooten Jr. Youth Center takes a neighborhood approach to the revitalization and empowerment of a community in crisis. The Wooten Center provides free after-school and summer programs to help students in grades 3 through 12 attain grade-level proficiency and promotion, high school graduation, and college and career access and success. The Al Wooten Center focuses on academics, STEM, the arts, and so much more. Join them for an enriching experience that sparks creativity and nurtures young minds. Tap in at WootenCenter.org. That's WootenCenter.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Stay informed with 24/7 power outage alerts from LADWP delivered straight to your phone or email when an outage occurs. Get notified when there's a major outage and again when your power is restored. Track up to 3 neighborhoods, like your home, your workplace, even a family member's. Stay connected. Stay informed. Sign up at LADWP.com/outage alert. That's LADWP.com/outage alert. Sign up today at LADWP.com/outage alert. From station to stage, LA Metro connects you to the artistic heart of Los Angeles. Celebrate this National Arts Month with Metro, exploring galleries, theaters, and cultural spaces across the city. Art isn't just where you end up, it's how you get there.
Did you know about 1 in 3 people with plaque psoriasis may also develop psoriatic arthritis, which causes joint pain, stiffness, and swelling? Does this sound like you? Listen to what it sounds like to be a million miles away. Tremfya, guselkumab, taken by injection, is a prescription medicine for adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who may benefit from taking injections or pills or phototherapy, and for adults with active psoriatic arthritis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Imagine being a million miles away. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya. Visit Tremfya.com or call 1-800-526-7736.
My ride smells just right, just right, just right, just right. Y'all gotta try that Febreze car. Just right, just right, just right. Yeah. La 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 la. With up to 40 days of consistency, all over Febreze car clips right on your vent. You know my car's my happy place. Keep that smile on my face when it smells just right, just right, just right. Yeah. Breathe happy Febreze. La 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 la.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Tired of being locked out of job opportunities and shut down by systemic racism? KBLA Talk 1580 stands with you in fighting for the rights of black workers, and we don't black down. The Los Angeles Black Workers Center is a dynamic alliance of workers, organized labor, community-based organizations, clergy, students, and scholars working collectively to improve the position of the black working class. The LA Black Workers Center takes a comprehensive approach to addressing the black jobs crisis. Their programs promote access to quality jobs, racial equity in hiring and retention, discrimination-free job sites, and they prepare black workers for employment in high-wage career track jobs. The LA Black Workers Center supports workers who need help protecting their rights on the job. They give workers access to quality jobs and remove systemic barriers to employment. And they are advocating for a fair deal for black workers in the new Los Angeles City Charter. To sign up for free career readiness training, get involved in organizing, or learn about union apprenticeship programs and trade registries, please visit lablackworkercenter.org. That's lablackworkercenter.org. Together, we can beat the black jobs crisis and build a more equitable Los Angeles. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. I was honored last week to carry KBLA with me to the National Action Network Conference in New York to listen to the Democratic candidates. And I just want to give a quick reprise, if you will, to Dr. Yeary, who normally and regularly meets me at the National Action Network conferences. But this year, in terms of how the crowd received the candidates, I thought Kamala Harris was received most warmly. I am crystal clear that Wes Moore is a brother. We've not seen a Wes Moore who is an African-American, unapologetic male run for public office at this level, from my perspective, since Reverend Jackson and Reverend Sharpton ran in 84, 88, and 2004, respectively. Wes Moore is unapologetic. I thought the most fluent candidate across all of the subject matters in terms of temperament and ideas and clarity on public policy was Pete Buttigieg. And he was so consistent, it reminded me of the fact that he knows discrimination. And if there ever was a candidate running for public office, if he decides to enter the contest, Pete Buttigieg definitely speaks to a politic that brings people together in that kind of coalition. I thought Governor Pritzker's was received very warmly. He's selling the success of Juliana Stratton to African American audiences, another African American woman potentially in the United States Senate, and that is definitely something to sell. He could swing me completely if he committed to building a third airport in the south side of Chicago and the Southland, putting literally tens of thousands of South suburbanites and Southsiders to work and giving, of course, me and others something to talk about. That would be the game changer, and I would crisscross 50 states for J.B. Pritzker if he made that move, but he's moving relatively slow in that space, and so he leaves me with the options that are before us. I'm wondering, Todd, whether or not you see what I see, that the potential for a dark horse candidate does exist in this space. Someone who can inspire and move people on a scale that we need to happen from center to left. Dr. Erie?
It is plausible. What I'm looking for is a little more immediate. I agree that Secretary Buttigieg would have a handle on the policy issues, having just come out of certainly the cabinet. He's been a mayor of a city, so he understands how government budgets work, even at the municipal level. He managed the budget after the great infrastructure bill became law, and was working to position those dollars to help transform communities. So I would expect that. I would expect that the former vice president would be acknowledged because, as she says, I know the job. I was a heartbeat away from being president of the United States. Governor Moore, Governor Pritzker have to be a little more nuanced because they have to speak currently. They are candidates for their current offices. They have to be careful. What was interesting to me is that Governor Newsom not being there, what might his take have been, because he could speak certainly more freely, just like Governor Beshear is finishing up his second term, for which he is term limited. I would expect that they're going to be more precise. What I'm looking to hear is, how do we navigate the malaise in real time? We don't need to jump right to 2028. Folk trying to get through today, as they like to say. And so that has to be the more immediate thing. Give me balance. Give me remedy for what is ailing me today. Give me inspiration for what I want to see in the future. Merge them together and show me where I fit within the praxis, the action that's necessary to bring those two things to come to pass. And a point that you made earlier about this notion about racialized harm, and now whites are being encouraged to sue because they've been discriminated against. I would just suggest, if anybody wants to raise that as a conversation, let's have the Commerce Department run the analytics on the wealth transfer to white families under the Homestead Acts of 1862 and 1866. And let's look at how generational wealth was established to the exclusion of most Black folk, that still continues to protect white economic interests to this day. And so if we don't learn the rules of the game, all we're going to be doing is just rolling dice. And that's what I did outside on the sidewalk. Don't judge me. The Lord's still working on me. I still know how to roll them when I have to. But if we're going to play Monopoly, we have to understand how to control wealth and how to navigate land. And we're not having that kind of a substantive conversation while the president is trying to put any kind of marquee that's a tribute to himself on any public building or public space that he can find. And so we got to get serious about this moment. We've got to understand that land and labor still come down to the wealth of a nation. And the question becomes, who's going to be the free labor? Not next time, but this time. That's the thing that's confronting us. And that's the issue that folks aren't wrestling with. And you can talk about that at the state and the federal level if we would have a substantive, credible conversation with those who want to be aspirational in their politics.
And just before we get to your word of hope, I do want to say that I did see something in Andy Beshear. I did see something. I did see Bill Clinton. I did see someone, the only person, quite frankly, of all the Democratic candidates who I felt could bring Bubba, like Bill Clinton, to the Democratic Party, because everybody else clearly represented the left. And that coalition is necessary to get to 270. Dr. Erie, a word of hope.
Well, I've been thinking about it. How do we stay focused? Here's the word of hope. You weren't created to be the spectator of history. You and I have been placed strategically, providentially, intentionally in this moment, in this space, in this nation, at this time to be a voice. And not the voice of a party, not to echo punditry, but to be the voice of the prophetic instinct that says, let justice roll down like waters and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. And so when we look at the politics of our faith, they're not complicated. They flow from this notion of love. Love your neighbor enough to show up. Love your neighbor as yourself. Show up to the polls, not just for you, but for your neighbor. Show up at the meeting, not just for you, but for your neighbor. Your neighbor needs your participation and you need your neighbor's participation. And if we stay focused on the sovereign assignment of the moment, we won't get distracted by the big shiny thing that they keep waving in our face. Like somehow or other, we too stupid to understand that today, the word says, this is the day that our God has made. We rejoice and we're glad in it because we're a part of it. And we're not going to sit down until the work gets done.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Thank you, Dr. Uri. I appreciate you. The Politics of Our Faith with Dr. Uri. More on KBLA Talk 1580. I'll see you tomorrow when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.